conversation. So I will give the word to our colleague, Rafael Muñoz, to start. And then after that, I will engage with the rest of the presenters in this section. So why don't you go ahead, Rafael?
Okay, let me share my presentation. Okay. Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for inviting me, and I am also happy because this meeting is real now, so that's very important and very interesting. Well, what I am going to present today is part of my work experience in order to show how very different disciplines have worked together to do this kind of project. First of all, I have to say that landscape design for me is just like Professor Chika Takahori said before me, is not only working with small scale designs, it also involves to work with large spaces, large territories, and all this aspect related to it. That is landscape design for me. So in that, so because of that, I'm gonna say that I have to say that I was the first landscape architect in Mexico. It's educated in Mexico. So when I graduated, landscape architecture was very rare discipline in my country. So I had to work in very different scales with different offices, different experiences in the private sector, mainly at the beginning, with important architects in Mexico. Most of them went to the United States and UK, then France and Germany to do master's degree in landscape architecture, and they were my teachers at the university, and I had the opportunity to work with them in different projects from gardening, residential landscape gardening, and then urban parks design, and these kind of projects, from the small scale to large scale. And also, I had the opportunity to work in the government of Mexico City, where I was in charge of design a very important avenue, the landscape of very important avenue, which is Paseo de la Reforma, and different experiences with people in order to have a good design. Here are some examples of what the work we did at that time. At the left, you can see this garden in a very rich zone in Mexico. And the other example is in downtown in Mexico City, where I developed some kind of exercises on street landscaping in streets. And after that, because of this work and this experience, and because of my dad was an agronomist, I have this kind of influence in me, and I became interested in understanding soil, the edapology. So then I enrolled in a master's degree in agronomy related to soil science. And one of the inspirations for me was to read this book, but it's about urban soil in landscape design, written by Philip J. Crow from the Harvard University. So that was my inspiration at the time. So I started to work with soil in cities, and that was my project, Soil as a Limiting Factor for the Development of Urban Vegetation in Mexico City. And I got my master's degree in that with that project. And also I had the opportunity to be involved also with landscape ecology. And that at that time I read that book from Forman and Gaudreau about landscape ecology, and I started to understand the structure and function and change of landscape, and also to be prepared to be trained in GIS and remote sensing, for instance, to understand all these aspects. And as a result of that, then I engaged with a PhD degree in Canada, and I was interested in understanding landscape change, but a very large landscape. It's about 1 million hectares landscape, and I was doing work with under the landscape change under climate warming scenarios. So these are some of the results I got. You can see at the right side of this slide, the baseline landscape, and then two scenarios of climate change and global warming. And then when I went back to Mexico, I started to work in an institution which is called Colegio de Postgraduados, which is an agricultural college, agricultural institution. And I was invited to design a master's degree in landscape architecture, and it changed now to a degree, to a program which is called rural landscape and tourism. So now I am working there. So I have the opportunity to work with biologists, economists, sociologists, anthropologists, archaeologists, and agronomists, etc. We have been developing projects in ecotourism, for instance, and rural tourism. I also working with bamboo. I know Japan is very important plant, so we have been working with bamboo in order to do construction and to control soil erosion and very different things. Also, trail design was a part of the important of landscape or rural landscape design also. We had the opportunity to work with archaeologists in patrimonial landscapes here in my state, in Veracruz, in Mexico. We have different archaeological sites, like one of the left-hand side, which is the Tajín. It's called Tajín, and all other landscapes like the one is showed at the right-hand side, very close where I live, which is Barranca de Metlac. And lately, we have been involved in landscape value, the economic value of landscape, like this one, which I show in this slide. These trees are very important and patrimonial because they are also the national sign, the national tree from Mexico, which is the Taxodium micronatum. And this is a river, there is a lot of them, and it's very important. It is under urban pressures. We're losing this space, so we have been related to how to know the real value of these spaces. And lately, we have been working with Professor Jairo in aspects related to green infrastructure. Sorry. So, and I think this opportunity gave me the chance to have the whole thing together, because we have been working with small scale things, medium scale, large scale, when we speak about green areas in cities. And we have been working with different disciplines like landscape architecture, civil engineering, agronomy, biology, ecology, economics, archaeology, sociology, and geography, among others. And we have been using different techniques like GIS, remote sensing, statistics, and landscape appraisal, just to mention some of them. So this is my last slide. My intention was to show you the different kind of work we have been doing and how we have been working with different professionals in order to do a better landscape design. That's it for me.
Thank you so much, Rafael. May I just ask one question that we can address probably very quickly? Sure. Why do you think that, is it my impression that agronomists, biologists are less engaged in what is landscape designing than we probably should allow them? No, they should be more engaged. Why is that? At least in Mexico, and I also think in Sweden, with the time I was there, they are less interested on this topic.
Yeah, that's right. That I have to say that in my institution, Colegio de Postgraduados, it's a very interesting institution because they became interested in landscape architecture, and this institution is run mainly by the agronomists and biologists also. So they were the more interested in starting this kind of program. So that's why they invited me to be part of the staff here, because they wanted to find this link between the landscape and the agronomy and biology. And it has been a very hard work for me because I have to teach to show them the importance of landscape, but they at the end they are very interested in this issue, in this aspect.